Okay, it is approximately 6:33, and this is the Merrillville Plan Commission meeting, September 19th, 2023. I'm calling the meeting to order, and we will stand for a pledge of allegiance, okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Minchuk, please take the roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Mellon?
Here.
Mr. Rich?
Here.
Mr. Holtz? Pettit?
Here.
I am here. Mr. Deering?
Here.
And Madam President?
I'm here,
We
thank
have
you.
6 and a quorum, ma'am.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 18th, 2023?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. We need a second on that, too.
I'll be the second, Madam President.
You always are.
I'm all,
Thank
Wow.
you.
Margaret.
I'm being facetious. Okay. All right.
Proud.
Oh, yeah, we need a voice vote on that.
Sure. Mr. Mellon?
Yay.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Aye, yay. What's proper, Joe?
I'll go.
Joe's not
I'm
laughing.
gonna go with
Margaret.
Mr. Deering? Yes.
That's a
Joe's
yes.
very quiet
Madam President.
tonight.
Well, Chris said aye, so.
Switch it up a little bit.
Aye.
have to
Okay.
discuss.
I or A.
Yeah.
The court has approved either or.
Okay, do we have,
Either
the board
or.
has approved the minutes of
sufficient.
July 18th, 2023 with the
All
motion
right,
and
what
the
do we
second.
got here? First one.
Continuing on, do we have any communications from any of the board members or any of the staff?
Just one, and
What is
and
it,
I
Sheila?
will read it at the time of the petition.
What?
It's just one communication, and when the petition comes up, I'll read it.
Okay, very
Thank you.
good. I have no comments tonight, so I will continue on with the agenda with old business. Item 1, P5 PP 2-0723, 8257 LLC petitioner and owner, located at the intersection of 82nd and Grant. The request, preliminary planned unit development approval on 5.4 acres in a PUD. Purpose, residential duplexes and single-family residences. Okay, introduce yourself, please, and give us your program.
Terrence Franklin with 8257 Grant LLC.
Stephen Stavko with Mecca Engineering, our office at 5655 Broadway.
Okay, and what do you have to say?
We are proposing to build duplexes in the area 2,300 to 2,400 square feet. Actually, the plan is for 369,000, which automatically gives the residents of Sedona and the surrounding areas $100,000 to $120,000 of equity immediately. We have 4 people, prominent attorney, a few other people that are interested in purchasing immediately. We're looking to start immediately. We apologize to the neighbors. We were looking to, we were just given the okay to clear the grounds, and our machine, $180,000 machine, was removed yesterday. Filed a police report just yesterday, right prior to us taking the vegetation out. So that happened. It won't slow us down. I'll go and buy another machine tomorrow. So basically, that's where we're sitting. This is something that we want to do as far as improvement. I've been in this business for 37 years, building from Chicago to a lot of other areas, a lot of prominent areas, movie theaters, been involved with power, construction, a lot of different programs that's there. Family of builders, we go back over 50 plus years in the business, and want to come out here and give a good product. As you can see, this is what we're proposing. We bring in a lot of good details and good bones to the product that's there. We believe that a 2,400 square foot unit, you can either get a 3 or 4 bedroom in that aspect. It's a 2.5 car garage. That gives it some good relevance and good bones. Nice landscaping. I started in the business in landscaping, so I did that for over 10 years along with the other portion of the business, so I'm very familiar with that. We have removed the berm. There's no berm, and there will be landscaping and trees there. And I guess the engineer can take over from there.
I'll keep it short. The plan has been seen by many, and for the originally requested berm along the south side of the property has been removed in the design in accordance with discussions with the town, replaced with a diversion swale to redirect any stormwater from the rear of Sedona and Franklin Estates in that area to the west to Grant Street, and then up to where we are tying into a pipe basically that crosses Grant Street to the west. In addition, I know a particular note because of the landscaping, the town ordinance does require over 100 landscape trees and over 200 shrubs. A large portion of these have been situated along that property line on the inside of that swale to create sort of a landscape buffer as well. Other than that, we're ready to answer any questions.
Who is the lawyer?
Our attorney for this location is Michael. I got to get his last name. It was provided by my partner, and he could not make it today.
So you don't know the name of the attorney, and he's not?
I can get that information. I do.
Okay, great.
I'll get it for you.
Well, no,
We did
just so we know who we're dealing
Yeah,
with
we
on
know
a,
who we're dealing with,
on a
okay.
town level.
Okay.
All right. Just didn't make sense. The staff. Okay, you have a staff report, Sheila?
Petitioner is requesting preliminary plan unit development approval on 5.4 acres in a plan unit development. The petitioner would like to build 12 two-story unit duplexes, one single-family resident to be known as Franklin Estates. The subdivision will be served with sanitary sewers, curbs, gutters, common water, and storm sewers. Merrillville Development Team has sent some comments to Mecca Engineer. Petitioner was deferred on July 18, 2023. The engineers and development team met with Mecca Engineering on Wednesday, September 13, to review plans and comments. And I have to say, Madam President and Plan Commission members, we met with John Dykstra, Steve King, Bob Zaney, myself, and Matt Lake, and Mecca Engineering to go over every aspect of the project. And Councilman Bella was aware of the meeting. He was not in attendance, but he has followed this project from all the way from the beginning until now. I sent out 70 letters to the Sedona Homeowners Association because it was Councilman Bella's, he wanted to make sure that the engineers took care of every aspect of the water, every aspect of the drainage, and as you all heard, that's one of the reasons why the berm was removed. I know we had talked about that at the conceptual stage, but the berm was removed to make sure that the homeowners in the Sedona area would not receive any waters. And this evening, Madam President and Plan Commission, the Robinson Engineering Team is here to answer any questions that they may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. The engineers, let me hear some type of report or comment. Bob?
I can actually start out. So, as mentioned, we did meet with Mecca Engineering last week, went over all the comments that we had, and you know, actually at this point and stage, they are beyond the preliminary stage. So we've addressed everything. I think there may be just a couple of very, very minor comments, which we haven't even gotten out. But I do want to, you know, just mention and commend the efforts of Mecca Engineering for being attentive to the comments and getting them in a timely manner to us. So,
Mr. Zaney?
yes,
We're at the preliminary stage, correct?
yes.
So that means we have to meet certain bullet points, 18 bullet points, correct?
That's correct. And
And we've met it's your testimony tonight that we've met those, correct?
that is correct. And they're actually farther along.
Speak up.
They actually have met all of those criteria for the preliminary submittal, and they're actually farther along and beyond that at this point.
At the preliminary stage right now, so
Right.
they're well along than required on the preliminary stage of the development itself.
And then to also add into that, John Dykstra from our company looked at all of the drainage and went through that very diligently and worked with Mecca. And I don't know if you want to comment on anything further with that, John.
No, just picking up on the further along aspect of preliminary, drainage being a very important component of engineering. We like to make sure that there's nothing in the drainage and propose the stormwater plan from their engineers that would cause undue changes in the site plan or anything. So we like to have that ironed out well ahead of time. And so Mecca has cooperated with that and responded to comments. And I did issue my last memo today. So they've complied with everything I brought forth. And so they are far along in the process. And I add on to what Bob has said in that regard.
Did they meet with the sanitary sewer engineers?
That item, you'd have to ask
Oh,
Stephen, I'm not sure.
So,
Did you meet with the sanitary sewer or have a meeting
We
with
have-
them?
We got the certificate signed for the sewer.
Pardon, I can't hear you.
We got the certificate signed.
We do have the certificate from Independence Hill Conservancy District. By the way,
They gave you
Sufia Nache
approval?
might be still P on this.
They gave you the approval?
Yeah, for the availability of sewer. Yes.
Okay.
We're preparing the item report, the item construction report.
Okay. Okay, let me hear from the board members.
Nothing at this
Mr.
time.
Chris?
I have nothing at this time.
Chris? No?
Nothing at this time.
Brian?
So John, and I guess Bob also, being that they are this far along past what is required with the 18 steps, past the usual preliminary stage, we're looking at a project that the surrounding homeowners, Sedona, the folks from Lincoln Street and the side streets off of the dead end at Lincoln, they are totally protected. No water will leave this property that will impact their homes or the use of their yards.
Water always leaves property when it
Right,
rains.
I understand
So
that.
it depends on grade. So I have to clarify that because
Thank
it's
you.
what I do. So we have made sure that their grading plan accommodates the neighborhood. So regarding the south from Sedona, the Sedona lots that will adjoin this development do drain towards Franklin Estates, what we call Franklin Estates. And they have to take that water, and was part of why the berm got eliminated, because I said, hey, this berm is blocking the water. You gotta move it or lose it. And so, that got addressed, and they've added the swale. They'll have the landscaping that, that Mr. Stofko talked about. So water from the south should not be blocked, and it will be directed, as we said, towards Grant Street. Some will be directed east, a little less than goes there now. And then as far as on Lincoln, that really, other than the very edge, which already went towards Lincoln, there'll be a little bit that still goes that way, but very little will be directed that way, because that was the preference of the town, was to use this Grant Street culvert that's a 24-inch pipe under the road.
Well, because I noticed that somebody had gone out there, I was there about 2 weeks ago, and I noticed that somebody had dug a fairly, large and long ditch from the folks that live on, for lack of a better term, 82nd Avenue, and then came to the west, then it turned to the south, and it looked like it brought it right over to the, to where the storm sewer inlet is.
Yeah, and I think that's been there for a good year plus. I believe Matt Lake was involved with installing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So basically, the improvements that he will make will help everybody. It'll help alleviate the stormwater that is backed up in the past and will not impact them in any manner, shape, or form in the future.
Yes, they'll be adding detention per code, and so, and they have to meet a release rate with that pond. Well, it's more like a basin, dry basin. So they'll have to meet per the code your code allows, and that will reduce over existing conditions what runoff leaves the site. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because when I walked out there quite a while ago this summer, it was a very wet piece of property. So then that's my biggest concern, is that the surrounding homeowners are protected.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, Mr. Franklin, we did address the whole question of the curb cut for the single-family home. That will not be connected through, that will be a private driveway. It will not impact the folks to the north of you or connect over to Lincoln, correct?
That is correct.
Oh, great. That's all I've got,
That's
Madam
it?
Chairman. Yep.
Mr. Pettit,
Okay, guys.
here we go.
This is curb and gutter, right, Stephen and Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
This is curb and gutter, all right. Have you guys started drafting the covenants? Will there be covenants on these duplexes?
Yes, sir.
And these are owner occupied?
Yes, sir. Only
They will
owner-
not be rentals?
No rentals whatsoever.
You're on tape, sir. I will hold you to that. There are
Yes,
no
sir.
rentals.
No rentals, sir.
These are for sale. What's your price point?
$369.
$369?
So 369 brings the average home, I believe, is 200,000. So we wanted to make sure that when we come in, and that this has actually already happened in another subdivision, it brings the current area to $36 million.
This
They have
invest-
360-something homes, I believe, in Sedona.
Sharing.
So, in their
But what's
area.
your investment in this?
My investment total?
Yeah.
Total investment? I have, it's going to be close to over 4 million.
4 million? Okay. Just for the, Madam President, just for the benefit of the people, this is the public hearing stage.
Yeah.
And this will, after preliminary, they'll file final PUD, and then it will come to the town council. Mrs. Uzelak, Mr. Minchuk, myself, your councilman, Mr. Bella, will hear the final PUD ordinance that Mr. Svetnoff and the developer put together, is how the next process will go. Sheila, I know Rick had a neighborhood meeting, did he not, with these residents?
We've had several neighborhood meetings with the Sedona and the other residents over there on Lincoln Street. Yes.
Okay.
We met last week with the president and the manager, Kathy Stone, who's out in the audience. We met back there last week.
Okay,
So,
okay.
That's it? Jeff?
That, well, one quick question, I guess, to Joe with the covenants. Is there going to be an HOA or POA?
There will be an HOA, yes.
HOA?
Yes, that's only for the landscaping portion of it.
Okay.
That's there.
Jeff, questions? Comments? Nothing? Okay, I'm curious on that price, 369. Is that the same for the residents, the houses?
No, what's
and
that?
the duplex?
What actually is on Adams, when you go to 5850 Adams, which is the similar type home, just recently sold for 300,000, and the other unit, I believe, sold for 309. That's closer to the Gary area that's there on Adams. So when you go down that particular street, that's where these particular units are. And they're selling for 310 there. What we're going to do with this, because of the fact we're using hardy board siding, or the cement siding and things of that nature, this is more of a plastic siding that's over there. Plus, we're utilizing a little bit better quality of brick that's there. So this is something, this is what you see in, like I say, a $750,000 home. We don't cheapen anything. Everything that we do is pristine. That's what we do. And everyone's welcome to come out and take a look or anything like that, or anything that we have. We put niche in the bath area, the stainless steel appliances. We give you quartz or granite. We have, the way we're able to do this, I'm a licensed electrician in Merrillville. I'm also a general contractor in Merrillville. I'm a state roofer, so my roofing license and things of that nature, and I have other things that I have, but we all have in-house. Everything we do is in-house, so it brings the house down. We don't have to go out and pay someone $20,000 to do this or $40,000 to do that. We can do it all in-house. So that's what we do. That's how we're able to bring in more quality products instead of on the labor side, because we have in-house employees.
Madam President, I have one follow-up question for Ms. Franklin. Ms. how are you going to build these houses? I mean, are these going to be, you're going to put a model up and then wait until Jeff and I decide we're going to buy one, or are you going to build all 12 lots out?
I have money to build every unit.
So you're going to start right off the get-go if you're approved?
Immediately. I do not need any financing whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay, Jeff,
Yeah.
Scott. What type of landscaping are you going to have? I was curious.
So you do upright arborvitaes, you do gold mounds, you do, well, they can tell you the trees. I don't know the trees. I do know the trees. You can do Austrian pines. You can go through anything that is going to be more decorative and also give a little bit more of a shade. If you do upright arborvitaes, most of the times they can die because of the fact when people are putting them in, they kind of move them back and forth. We always get the ones that we have a count with Home Depot where we get at least 1 year. So it will take root for that, so we'll have a warranty for at least 1 year. So anything that does go bad, we're able to replace it on their dime instead of ours. We're one of the top contractors with Home Depot in the state of Illinois.
Okay, very good. Okay, what is the privilege of the board at this point?
Public hearing, Madam President.
Yeah, it's a public hearing.
Oh, yeah, it's a public hearing, but can't we
Nope.
acknowledge any type of a vote here?
Nope.
No?
No, we have a public hearing. This is
Okay.
It's an
continued.
advertised public hearing.
Okay,
We have to go with the public
well, I
hearing.
guess that's it then, Mr. Franklin and engineer. We will see you at.
No. This is, we're going to take a vote tonight. We
We're-
have
but
to.
that's what I'm
Yeah, we
asking.
have to have the public hearing.
Well, when are we gonna have the public?
Right now.
Right now.
This is it?
This is it, so.
Okay, well, I'm asking.
Open the
what is
public hearing.
privilege?
Open the public hearing.
Okay, it's open to the public hearing.
Okay.
Any-
Joe, do you want
anybody care
to
to
run the public
speak?
hearing, please?
Yeah, what we'll do at this time is we'll open up to public hearing. Any person coming up will be, state their name, their address, and what they want to discuss. At the end of the day, it'll be 3 minutes in length. Then what we'll do is we'll bring it back to the board, but we'll entertain any type of public hearing at this time. So please, at this time, any type of public hearing, please step on up.
We're sharing.
Make your way to the microphone in the
Okay.
Podium.
State your name and address and please come up to
At the podium, please.
the podium there.
Yep. All of these meetings are recorded, so we require that you speak into the microphone.
Melissa Peterson. I'm at 1500 West 82nd Place, so I'm one of the properties on the Sedona side. They're showing us pictures of the outside, but can we see, I don't know the right words, but like a drawing, like from overhead of what the whole area would look like? I don't know what the words are for that.
I mean, like a plan sheet, something like that?
Yeah, something like
Site plan,
that, so we
yeah.
could see, I want to know where my backyard falls in placement of all of this.
So here's the plan sheets.
Okay, so this is Grant here.
Here's Grant here, here's 82nd, so you'd be along this.
So I'm right here
Yeah,
in
you'd be
this
along
spot.
this line.
So each building is 2,400 square foot, or it's 24 for one side and then 24 for the other side? I guess that was a question I had.
2,400, so basically, you're encapsulating almost 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
24 each side.
Okay, so then it's 4 of these, and then could you talk more about that single-family residence? I don't really know where that's falling in. And then the street for this goes, like, how do they, so that's their own driveway?
This is a private personal driveway to get to this residence.
Then what's this space right here?
This is a pond.
There's a pond there.
There will be.
There will be, okay. So the people that live on the other side, like when I look out my kitchen window, where are they on this map then? So I guess that's the link, is that Lincoln?
So you're here.
So I'm here.
So if you look out your kitchen window, you're gonna look into these backyards.
Because right now, I see all the way across. So this pond is somewhere in the grass.
Yeah,
And then where do they live then? They're on this side?
they're over here on this side, yep, right here.
So in between me, they're saying all of this is gonna happen in that space in between me and them.
Yes.
Mr. Franklin, real quick,
That just-
let me interrupt. How many acres have you got there? 5.4 acres.
I mean, to us, I think that have lived there for so long, that's a lot going in such a small space. I mean, I don't know.
Pastor Edward Sims, 1415 West 83rd Avenue in Sedona. I'm the POA president again. I wish that the town would sometime take into consideration, first of all, the process that you all used of just letting a few people know from the backside, to me was certainly unfair because you don't have the consensus of the whole subdivision. And we were there first.
Under notice provisions under Indiana code,
I understand,
we need to notice certain people.
absolutely.
We go ahead and notice those certain people, and we let it go from there.
Well, I think it needs to, even though that may be the law,
Then
it's a
what I
courtesy.
suggest is you contact your legislature and then have them law changed in terms of notice procedures.
Well, we can do that too. But again, the town, we pay taxes in the town of Merrillville, so even in that, it's just a common courtesy.
Yeah, but
That I
we
would think-
follow Indiana code. We cannot
But-
break Indiana code.
Reverend
Okay.
Sims, with all due respect, I asked that question of Sheila, and I believe she said there were neighborhood meetings that Councilman Bella had, and I know Rick is extremely diligent
He
with his
has been.
website.
He has
in
been.
contacting you folks via email and that sort of electronic messaging.
Well, then what's the problem?
Well,
So
we
I
got
thought
some
that-
people that still didn't get a chance to hear it because everybody don't come to a meeting, and it's right across from where the street backs up to where the thing is, where the subdivision is going. There are people right on the other side of the street that are now saying they had no idea that that was going to happen.
But how many times do we need to put people on notice that there's meetings, that there's discussion points? that
I didn't know
there's
till
town
I came back to the POA.
I mean, we can't, with all due respect, Reverend Sims, we can't hold a gun to people's head and say,
You're
you've
right.
got to come to this
I
meeting.
understand that.
This
I
is your
understand that.
chance, or you're going to miss it. It's freedom of choice. They obviously had something other to do when Mr. Bella had his meetings, or when you guys had your meetings with Mr. Bella. They must have had something more, I guess, more important. I can't speak for them. You can't speak for them.
Absolutely.
But as Mr. Svetnoff says, this is why we have the public hearing process in the town of Merrillville that we've been doing
And we
50
appreciate
years.
that. We appreciate that. I'm not questioning that. I'm just making a suggestion. Sometime it keeps down the rhetoric if we can get the information as a group, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect everyone that lives there. And we're not against the subdivision going in, not me. It doesn't make me no different what you put there. You know, it's we're just asking that, and they asked me to ask for that, and I understand whatever the law is. So, I mean, I guess it's gonna be okay in what they're doing. I thought it was too small for all the departments that, the complexes that you were putting in that small space. I felt the same way that this lady just expressed, that it's such a little space. If you get people on holidays, or you have a fire and you got to have fire trucks, and the street, I understand they got parking in the driveway, but most people park on the street. And once they get full, if you got something like that, what is going to be the perimeters for trucks if they had to come in, the fire trucks and things like that? Is it going to be more than enough space for them to get in and do their job, or do they have to wait for people to move out or move the cars off the streets and things like that, and the snow plows and all that stuff? If you get people parking on there, how difficult is it going to make it for the town of Merrillville to clean the streets? Just basic stuff. And I think it is it's a small area to me for this many to be going in. Not that we're against new development.
Well, we run in, sir, so I'm in charge of the snow plowing. We run into the same problem in Sedona. We have it posted no parking, 2-inch snowfall. There's cars parked everywhere. We have to plow around them. That's a common thing in town, whether it's Sedona, whether it's Barclay Village. It's a common thing with people parking in the street, and we have to deal with it.
So in this subdivision, the streets are going to be as wide as the ones in Sedona?
Absolutely. They'll handle fire trucks and everything. I mean, and if they're parked on the street, after a 2-inch snowfall, we'll do like we do in the town, and we'll get the police department out there and we'll have the vehicles removed. Just like we do with any other subdivision.
Okay, just a point of thought. Just a
Yeah,
point
on
of
the
thought.
way we have it moved. It's posted, so we do
We
have the
appreciate
police
it.
department
We
move.
appreciate it.
Well, knowing Reverend Sims like I know him, he's been very involved with this area for quite a few years. And I'm sure the engineers are going to keep everything in order. And we have had several meetings. I'm sorry you did not attend, but like the attorney said, they have been advertised, but we do have professionals that are going to make sure everything is in place.
Thank you.
Sure.
Stephanie Reiser, 8130 Lincoln. There was two things that I heard that were kind of off track from what we've previously been told over in Lincoln. Currently, the water flow is still a problem. They still have water in their backyard. And you said that the flow from the subdivision is going to go to the south or west, but there will still be some going to the east, which will be back into their backyard, which will lead into our backyard. Like, I think it was, 3-4 years ago, I had a river in my backyard. And they decided to plug it up with cement. And the problem never got fixed. There's a retention pond by the end of Lincoln Street on the service road that water was supposed to go through. But everyone bypassed that. Now it's going all over the place and still going in her backyard, which will lead again into my backyard. So I guess I'm still questioning what if that has been fixed? Everyone's talking about how Sedona's not going to get flooded. They're fine, but Lincoln Street and 82nd will.
See, man, that was the question I asked 2 months ago, and I just asked John again, because I'm very familiar with Lincoln Street. I had a number of people down there that I knew all the way back to high school, and I know there's been water problems there historically. And where do you live? So I get an idea of which house you are.
8130.
I go to the dead end, there's the road that goes back towards Grant, and then there's the person that lives just past the dead end. Where are you in relation?
I live on the corner by the dead end.
Okay, I know
across
where you're
from
at.
D. Yeah.
So, and that's why I asked Mr. Dykstra, it's quite a concern that they have had water problems there in the past, and I just want to find a way to reassure these folks that this is not going to exacerbate their problem.
I mean, there is literally a river flowing through my backyard. So, and I understand that the Sedona problem is fixed, and there will be a little water to the east of the property, but that is their backyard, which will lead into our backyard, which they're like, well, it's the natural flow, that's how it's supposed to go. Well, you're not supposed to have a river in the back of your backyard. Okay. The other thing that I'm questioning is the berm. Like, are we not having a separation between the properties now? Because that was one of the things that we initially talked about, is separating us from the new development, because we moved here because of the privacy. I don't want people walking in my backyard. I have an acre in my backyard. I have dogs, I have kids. I don't want strange people from the new development just walking around as they please. And they said there was a berm, and I said, well, okay, but that's not gonna help. We're just gonna have this open property now, So we're not gonna have any more privacy, we're not gonna have any more security, because now there's no berm, now there's just trees. You said you're planting trees, I mean, you took down trees.
Well, perhaps Mr. Franklin could speak to this. If you want to come to one of the microphones, please.
So for, the berm is not on the 82nd side. The
Right,
berm
but
was
they
on
said
the
there was
Lincoln
initially
side.
going to be a berm separating the properties, so that we wouldn't have, like, just, the mixture of craziness.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
The one thing we can't do is we can't come onto your property to change whatever drainage you have on your property. What we can do is catch that water as it comes into ours. So on that line where the berm was, we have a diversion swell to catch that water and convey it so that there's a place for it to go.
Okay.
So it's not going to pond, it's not going to pool, it's not going to create a lake in your backyard. The best thing we can do, because we can't come into your property to do something, we have to do it on our own, is basically facilitate and help your property the best it can to drain away.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. To do that, we can't have a berm in the way blocking the drainage.
I understand that, but so what are we getting in place of this berm? Because I want my privacy. I bought this house
So as a buffer,
specifically because there is no quick access to other neighborhoods. No kids running around, no suspicious people. Everyone in the neighborhood knows each other. We know if they're walking around, and now we're, like, exposed.
You're
as a buffer,
separated by other properties though, right? You're on Lincoln Street, so you're actually separated from this development by other properties.
Her lot is to the northeast.
No, because I have a neighbor across the street, and half of my backyard goes to half of the property that is being developed.
I will be the only neighbor next to you, and if you would like a fence in
I'm
between
saying
us,
on
that's no
the
problem to me.
south side.
No, I understand, but I'm saying that my home is going to be next door to you, not the subdivision.
You'll be next door to me.
Next door to you?
Yes.
Okay. There it is.
I'm
Okay, are you-
8129.
Are you getting a privacy fence? Are you putting up something so people can't just randomly walk around?
For my home, there will be, that's what.
Okay, and then there's no access from the subdivision
No,
to
not.
anyone's
just-
backyard.
Just to my.
All right, this is actually a discussion that you have to have between you and the
This is a
developer.
private exchange.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not in for that.
Right.
What we're in for right now is public comment.
Yep.
That's fine. that's just my concern, because they initially
Right.
told us
Yep.
we
And
were
that-
gonna have
that
our privacy
really
back.
You
Yeah.
should
You could
address
meet
with the
them in
developer.
the foyer after the meeting, and maybe they could answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else care to speak there?
Hi, my name's Phil Cassidy. I'm at 8129 Grant Street, which is the property right. I'm the one that's been exposed greatly because they wiped out the whole south side of my house. Now, I was just looking because this plan has changed a couple times. I mean, granted, I know there's been some issues or whatever. And now there's a retention pond, and it looks like that retention pond is gonna be like basically right next to my property. Is that on the north or south end of your development? Okay, so your house is going to be on the north side of your development, right? So this is 82nd Street? All right.
What could we do?
All right, so this is my house right here. That's not in here.
Go in the foyer?
Now,
Okay.
so these are all trees
he's
going,
like
get
an
put up?
agent for-
So they are-
Yeah, I know.
So what is the gist of the question? then?
I just wanted to understand the change. I had heard
I
some
got you.
changes. I heard a lot of changes about what they were doing for Sedona.
Right.
And I'd, taken the berm down, everything. The berm was there. I had talked to Mr. Franklin a while, and he said there was gonna be trees, so there was gonna be sort of a separation kind of barrier there. And again, I'm just gonna reiterate the fact of the standing water.
Gotcha.
From my understanding, my family's owned that house, the house I'm in for almost 40 years now. And there was a little parcel of woods right there, and I was always told that that was kind of a wetland, and that was for the runoff of the water and everything else, and then,
But
yes,
the biggest thing I can say to reassure you is we've got a heck of an engineering team. Mr. Franklin is paying tens of thousands of dollars to his engineer, and they have to guarantee the integrity of your property. If they release too much water and you flood out, you have recourse.
I just want to make sure I'm on record speaking about it.
Thank you,
That's all
sir.
I need. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
And if that is a wetland, that would be with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, it would have to be a designated
We could not
wetland.
be out there with our engineers touching that.
Yeah.
My name is Tony Holloway. I'm at 1415 West 82nd Avenue. Like I said, you can go out there now, and we got a pond in the back of our water right now. The town did come out there and sucked out the sewers probably about 4 months ago. We tried to get leaves picked up from the town one time, and they say that that road was unsafe for their employees to do it. I don't understand that. You guys got pickup leaves pertains to this matter. But, like I said, the water is the big issue. Very big issue. We live in, 77, Mom, 72? We've been there. You remember Esther Bly? I grew up in that house. Come back here to take care of my parents, and I think there needs to be a lot of changes from the town. And, if you guys say that we're not gonna get no extra water, I come down here, I was down here for about 3 months. Their basement flooded. Had to tear the whole basement out. They had a full finished basement. Totally soaked it. So, like I said, I grew up in that house. I'm 52 years old, so you know how many years I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, and to be honest with you, at least if it was me, the only thing that I can be reassured by or would be reassured by is, and this is very different than any other developer that we've seen in my memory, the developer's gonna be your next door neighbor. He's building his private residence on that property. That's the single-family home. He's the man that is guaranteeing he's not gonna put any more water on your property. So, good neighbors.
but he said that he was licensed in Merrillville. Is he getting outside contractors to do this? Or are you gonna do it yourself?
I'm going to have outside contractors.
Are they licensed in Merrillville? Or are they going under your license?
They're gonna have to be licensed.
Oh, yeah, every developer has to hire licensed.
Heard that before.
Okay, is there anybody else that cares to speak about the development with Mr. Franklin?
Ask it a second time.
Anybody else care to speak about the development?
Third and last.
Okay, the third time I heard you. Does anybody else care to speak about the development with Mr. Franklin?
Public comments done.
Okay, the public hearing will end at this time, and I will throw it to the board now. We will go ahead and take a vote on this preliminary hearing. Could I have a motion on that to take the vote? Could I have a motion from a board member to take the vote? Could I have a motion from a board member to take the vote?
A motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Chris Mellon that we have a vote for the public hearing with
To
Mr.
approve?
Franklin to approve
approve.
Mr. Franklin's development.
To approve preliminary.
To approve
At
the
the
development.
preliminary stage.
Yes.
Okay, in the preliminary stage. Could I have a second from a board member?
I'll second.
And then we have a second now from Jeff Minchuk to approve the preliminary hearing on Mr. Franklin's development. Okay, you want me to take a separate vote or all together? Roll call vote, Jeff.
Mr. Mellon,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit,
Yes.
Mr. Gearing,
Yes.
I am a yes, Madam President.
Yes,
We have 6 yeses.
okay.
And just so everybody understands what Sean was saying earlier, there are more steps. So Reverend Sims, if you want to talk to the other property owners through the POA, there will be more meetings on this. This is strictly preliminary,
Right,
but this did cover the public hearing. They can still put their questions to their councilman, and have him address the question with the developer, there's plenty more time for people to get their voice heard. So,
For all of you, this was just a preliminary hearing, and we did vote on it, and we will have more meetings, like Brian had just said. And if anybody's interested in questions or wanting to call, we do have engineers that are available at all times. And thank you all for attending. Okay? Continuing on with the agenda, I will go on to new business. Okay, with the new business, item 2, P9PP 103-0923. Tom Fitzpatrick, PF Storage of America, petitioner, and Barbara Alters, owner. Located at 7300 US Lincoln Highway. Request preliminary planned unit development approval on 18.5 acres in a C-3 highway commercial zoning district and R2 residential zoning district. Purpose, to allow a storage facility.
folks, if you could, we have more meeting to go. If you could have your discussions in the hallway, please.
Thank you.
In the foyer. Okay. Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Hi, yes, Mark
You are
Anderson.
the lawyer for the storage units, correct?
That's correct. Mark Anderson, 9211
Right.
Broadway. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, Storage of America. May I approach to provide some supplementary documents?
Oh, definitely. And I think we had a couple of workshops on this, too. So I think everybody's in tune on it now.
John and I will share. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, we don't need his advice.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Where's your dad? Yeah. Oh. Okay, like I mentioned, we did have a workshop or two on this, so do you want to talk on it again, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, so this matter here is located at, like you indicated, 7300 East US Highway 30. We had a workshop on this project earlier this month, and so there were comments that were made with respect to it. Basically, one question was, and comment was to make sure that we had indicated on the plans that there was an 8-foot-high fence.
Yes.
And so the first plan, the only thing that you'll see different is at the bottom in the middle, there is a notation that all of the fences are 8 foot in height. The other was a comment with respect to, having different types of trees than what we initially had along US 30. The idea is to not interfere in any way with the sign, the billboard that is out there, the signage. And so what we've done is the second page basically shows that the grading will not disturb where the sign is located, and you'll see that in the upper left corner of the second page. That's the adjustment. And then our engineering team was recommending that in lieu of box elders, which were mentioned that perhaps could grow as high as 40 feet, we're thinking about a low-spreading type tree like a redbud or crabapple tree that would probably top out at 15 to 20 feet. That would make sure that the visibility would still be there, but yet still have some kind of significant landscaping along US 30 that would be acceptable to the commission. Those were the main items that were brought up in our workshop discussion. We indicated this would be done in phases, and the phases are shown with the first phase being in the southeast corner of the property. I know that, Sheila, do you want to mention, or we can go over that now if you'd like, or we can wait for the public comment. Sheila had received an email public comment, so we could wait for the public comment period for me to respond to that email. I'm also happy to take any questions that you may have with respect to the
How many units did you say?
Well, the first phase is approximately, it would be 52,300 square feet. So it would, I think that the exact number of units is not, I can't give you the exact number, but it would probably be around 500 units, 450 to
500?
500 units. Yeah.
Are any of those climate controlled?
None of them will be climate controlled. They'll all
None of
be,
them.
yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Sheila, do you have a report, staff
I do.
report?
Petitioners requesting preliminary plan unit development approval on 18.5 acres in a C3 highway commercial zoning district and a R2 residential zoning district. Petitioner would like to build a storage facility to be known as Storage of America. The site plan shows all phases of development. The building numbers 1 through 8 totaling approximately 52,300 square feet to be initially built in Phase 1. The plan shows 33 total buildings and 248,500 square feet that may be decreased given the elevation differences on the property. Storage facility will be fenced, and there will be no trees planted on US 30. I received an email from Stephen Hovanik, and he is an engineer representing the property owners North Ridge Properties LLC. We request that the following be constructed from the west property line to the east for parcel number 4513200100100030. Frontage road, water main, sanitary sewer main. Thank you.
Okay, what about the engineers? Can I hear something from you guys?
Sure. We received the preliminary information, and I went through the checklist, and everything that was submitted for this particular site has been met, and they've, as I said, met all the requirements.
This is all preliminary plan though, correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. So there's many more steps to go through before it would achieve full approval.
That is correct.
Correct.
So basically, we're in the first phase of kind of their approval process.
Yes.
Second
phase.
second phase.
Well,
Yes, that's correct.
In the infancy of it.
Correct, Counselor. Okay, and you said there would be no landscaping?
Well, you know, and so I guess this was our thought process is to have we would have landscaping along US 30, and there's other landscaping that's shown on the Plan L200 that you had received. You'll see significant landscaping around the proposed development. But we were looking at along US 30 to pull out the trees that would grow to a great height, and instead look at lower spreading trees like redbud and crabapple up front, if that would be acceptable to the Plan Commission. Otherwise, we could forego trees and just have other landscaping altogether.
Now, what about the lighting system?
Lighting system would be in accordance with town requirements, facing downward and to not have light pollution. And
That's in excess of the scope of the preliminary plan, I think.
that's right, but it will be done. You're exactly right. Yes, we will make sure that that's
Yeah,
the
I'm
case.
just questioning it.
No, I got you.
Okay, Steve, you found everything in order so far?
Yeah, we've looked at this, Bob and I and John and Matt, and they've met all the requirements for preliminary approval.
Okay, what about the board members? Chris, you have any questions, comments?
Nothing at this time, no.
Nothing? Mr. Mellon?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Bryan?
Just throwing this out, you know, as far as your landscaping along 30, obviously, we don't want anybody blocking any line of sight. To line up one or two types of trees gets pretty monotonous. This is the entrance to the town coming from County Line Road. It's going to be a very visible property. If you could work up a nice mix of landscaping of low-growing items, 2 or 3. Usually groups of 3 work out much better than one lined up like soldiers or 2 just going back and forth like a checkerboard. Whatever we can do to make it look like an attractive upscale piece of property would be helpful. Also, the only other question I would have is as far as the approach to the front gate. Do you have enough room that if you have a busy day, people will stack up and they don't have to be waiting out on 30? I'd hate to see if there's only enough room for maybe a couple of U-Hauls of people moving things in, then people are going to be sitting on the berm of Route 30 waiting to turn in, and that could become a real hazard down the road. That's all I've got, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sean, questions?
Several things. First of all, since we're taping this for the record, I am at this time going to declare a fiduciary conflict of interest. Mark, as you're probably aware, I work as a real estate manager for Lamar Outdoor Advertising, and I get paid off of these type of leases that Barb Alters has. We have a 14 by 28 digital billboard on the property. Mark, I will remind you and Barb, and I talked to Dave Lasser, she has a lease with us. Any landscaping cannot violate the visibility of that lease. Okay? That's paramount for me. Point of clarification for the rest of the board members, since this is in my ward, and I won't be voting on this because of my conflict. If I'm not mistaken, Steve and Bob, the water line is on the south side of US 30 already. Goes out to Randolph, goes down into Winfield and Doubletree.
Yes.
So Indiana American Water, to the comment, the email that Mr. Hovanek sent in, there is already a water main on the south side of US 30. I'm not sure about MCD and the sewer. I thought that Sherwood Forest had sewers that went out there, but I could be mistaken, Steve.
Yeah, the sewer availability out there, I'm not sure, but I know that there is water out there.
Yeah, there is water out there. And then the frontage road, through there where our corporate line starts, and then we go out to the Porter County line, there's kind of a hodgepodge of frontage road systems that's never been really completed. So I don't know how much property is out there where we would, Joe, I don't know if we can make it a condition to put a frontage road system in just on Barb's property, and then the property to the west is the first property in Merrillville, and then you work your way east. And so I don't know if he's, Sheila, if he's responding. What was the name of his company?
Stephen Hovick.
Yeah, but what did he say?
That's he's representing, that's the property that.
To the west?
To the west.
Which was the old Sherwin-Williams paint testing
Yes,
facility.
he's
Okay.
representing that property.
All right. That's all I've got, Madam President.
Jeff? Nothing?
One last question, Madam Chairman,
Yes,
if
what is it,
you'd
Brian?
indulge me. Steve, I know this falls under Ainsworth Fire Department, correct?
Well, we have an east, we have an east.
East
Yeah, but
Station.
that's the
Not
yellow
really.
trucks, for lack of
Well,
a better.
73rd Avenue, Old
Right.
Lincoln Highway's got the station out by Deep River Water,
Right,
or
right. So
County
they're
Park.
covered by that. Have we looked at it from a fire protection perspective? Plenty of room to get units in there. I realize there's water there, but is there going to be a hydrant? Or are we going to have to haul water over if there's any type of disaster?
It shows a hydrant within the
does show a
property
hydrant,
limits,
okay.
yes.
And so, but as far as the spacing of the buildings and that, we shouldn't have any problems getting our trucks in there should the need arise.
No, we'll get with the fire department too, and it's all double checked through our fire inspector before we approve anything, so.
This is only preliminary phase.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a preliminary hearing, and
Yep.
since Sean won't vote on it, it is in his ward.
Yep.
What do you think about it anyway, Sean?
I don't necessarily, the land use itself, I don't necessarily have a problem with. There's a mixed use out there. Haunted Hills has taken over the old Ringos. We have the Christmas light display right next to them. There's a church, there's a dentist. There's another dentist on the corner of Randolph, Smiles on Randolph, that was just
Right.
built. There's the old Casale, which we have another billboard there, Casale's used car lot on the north side. And then there's an office building. And then you get further east, you get into the water park and the Lake County Park offices. So there's
Right.
a mixed use of different uses on both sides. And keep in mind, for those that were here, and I think maybe Brian might be the only one that remembers this, the town rezoned 500 feet deep on each side of US 30. Before Sheila might have been working for us, but I think Dorinda was still with us when we did that rezoning. So we did a swath on both sides of US 30, a 500-foot deep of C3 highway commercial.
Right.
Very good. Okay.
I just had a
want
couple
your
of
opinion,
quick
Sean.
comments, just real quick. With respect to the fire, the plans show, I think, a 6-inch line that's going to come from the south side of Route 30. That's where the water main runs, so I think there'll be sufficient water in the case of a fire. The fire trucks will be managed and taken care of. We'll make sure that we have proper turnarounds that are necessary with respect to that. Yeah, we don't think the water main needs to run on the north side of the property because it does, the north side of US 30 because it does run east-west on the south side. And then, with respect to sanitary sewer, this development will not have any sanitary sewer connection whatsoever, so we don't think that would be relevant in this case. And then the frontage roads, it's the same thing. It is a little bit of a hodgepodge. We know that the development with respect to the dental office on Randolph there doesn't have a frontage road in front of that, and so we don't think that it would be consistent with that area there for it. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board or from the staff? Nothing, since it's a preliminary hearing, are there any other comments or questions from the public? Nothing? Okay, good. Then we will go ahead and take a vote, I believe.
Need a motion? Oh,
A motion?
Public-
Yeah, I
Barbara
just,
comment.
I'm sorry.
Barbara wants to
Come up
talk.
to the podium.
Yeah, public hearing. That's
I'm
right.
sorry.
Robert and Laura Farber, 7109 Old Lincoln Highway.
Okay, we've been living there for approximately 47 years, and we bought a piece of property just west of us. The property that we bought is adjacent to the property in question. The south side of our property is adjacent to their north side. We are extremely concerned about safety, how we will be protected. I mean, he's talking right now 500 units just to begin with. And he's talking about an 8-foot fence. You're talking a lot of people going in and out of that area. We want to know how is the town of Merrillville going to not only protect us and our property, but the other residents in the area? It's a big concern.
Well, Mark, can you answer that?
We're only on the preliminary stage.
Yeah, we're just at the preliminary.
Thank you for your comments.
Well,
So
we do have a question.
we have provided plans to the Plan Commission, and I can show you this here. This is the north side of your property here. I'm showing them L200, which is the landscape plan. We plan to have trees all along the north side so that you would have that to look at instead of, and you can see we're also looking to do that along what would be the west side of the property as well. The first part of the Phase 1 development would actually be in what is the southeast corner, so that would be not near your property at all. We'd be putting in the detention pond because we have to control our own water, and the access would be off of US 30. We don't think that you're going to see a lot of activity compared to other developments that could be put into this location, just because, based on our experience, there aren't a lot of people that come in and out all the time with respect to their storage needs. So we don't think that you're going to have a lot of traffic compared to what other commercial developments that could be developed in this case. And so we think this is actually going to be a quieter development than you would.
You think?
And the other thing too is I'll say is that the 8-foot fence is to have security to try to deter any kind of activity with respect to the.
Will they have barbed wire on the top of them?
There's no barbed wire. I don't think that's allowed under.
It's easy to climb an 8-foot fence.
Well, we were looking at a 6-foot, so we're looking at 8-foot. And the other thing too is I should note that if you look at the outside of the plan, they have a fortress-type setup. So most of the development will be buildings that'll be on the outside with small amounts of fencing in between each of the buildings. So they have basically, buildings will be the outside, except along the detention pond, we'd have the 8-foot fence, and then in between those buildings, so that you would actually have a protection and from theft and everything else like that.
How close are these buildings going to be to our property line?
Well, they'll have a setback that are, it's a 20-foot building setback, and in that 20-foot area is where you would have the trees and other landscaping that we've indicated here
What
on
kind
the
of trees
plans.
would they be?
These trees would be initially 6-foot height evergreen trees, white pine, Norway spruce, or eastern red cedar, that would be planted there, and then they would grow from that point there.
That still seems pretty close to our property. I want you to understand that our property, most of it is farmed. And the farmer that farms it, that's his bread and butter. So anything that would disrupt that would be totally wrong, totally. Now, I've heard a lot about drainage problems and runoff. How are we gonna solve that with all these buildings? 500 units just to begin with,
If you look here, and we provided plans to the Plan Commission, you can see that the detention pond is quite large in size. So this, and the way that and that's shown on each of the plans. There's also a plan that shows the topography, and the topography shows on C300 that the water would all run this way to the pond, so that, and so it is being engineered, specifically engineered to keep all water that falls on this property within the property itself. It's actually probably gonna be better than it was before.
well, it's pretty good now, just to go on the record. The farmer has no problem at all with any kind of water or any kind of problem with that at all, to let you know that. Behind our house, we have a pond, and the pond evolved within, I think it's 50 years, 55 years, due to natural runoff from the area directly behind us. I think it was Sherwin-Williams. So that is higher area there, so that's a natural runoff. So how is that gonna be affected? I mean, if there's already a natural runoff, what's gonna happen there?
Well, they have to store all their own water, so there won't be anything excess.
the
But
engineers-
we're in
the
preliminary,
engineers would take
we're in
care
the
of that.
I
preliminary phase
understand
right
that, but that's what we
Yeah.
heard in the other meeting too, and they're having a problem. And it's a
Well, has that
concern.
retention pond kept the water off your property?
The pond that I'm speaking
Yeah.
of
Right.
at our home?
Right.
That was evolved, yeah.
Okay.
There's no,
Okay.
we have.
Well,
no
and,
problem.
and here's the thing too, as Joe just said, this is only the preliminary step. There will be more meetings with more in-depth
As long as you're
engineering.
meeting the 18 checkoff.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
yeah, there's 18 items that have to be checked off. John and Bob will be looking at the drainage so that, in essence, for a nutshell, they have to store their own water and not disturb you. So everything that's there will be there. Everything that they build, they store their own. I mean, that's
That's
as simple as I can make it.
That's a guarantee.
That's up to the
Okay.
engineers.
That's
Also, I
the
do wanna-
engineer's call.
Okay, also, I
Okay.
do want to add that there's plenty of farmland around there,
Mm-hmm.
as you know. It's very rural,
Mm-hmm.
so it's secluded.
My folks
Again.
moved here 54 years ago now, and they were surrounded by farmland. And I've got maybe 5 acres left out my front door that I look at. It's just when somebody owns a piece of property, by law, they can build on it.
I understand that
you know.
completely.
And
just wanna make
I
sure-
wish it was different. I wish we could all stay rural, but
Just wanna
it's
make
just
sure
what
that
it
the
is.
town of Merrillville understand that we are kind of concerned, and we want you to protect us.
Sure.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Not when it's too late, or when we see crops dying, or where I have to come to meetings and inform you as to what's going on.
Yep.
Okay?
Well,
That's why we have a group of engineers and a
Right.
group of professionals.
I got that. I
Analyze
understand
this.
that. I understand that. But I also heard the previous meeting too.
I had one more question. The access hours, will it be a 24-hour access? Or like, I know some places are like only to 8 or 9 o'clock, you know, let people go in. Or will there be an office there, or just buildings there where I come on in and do what I want to do?
That's a good question. I think we addressed this, I think in conceptual, and
Right.
this question
Yes,
is whether it
you
would be 24 hours, and the answer would be no, it would not be 24 hours. It wouldn't be,
So it's not monitored
it is monitored by cameras, yes,
by cameras?
quite significantly,
So
yes.
if something happens, there's somebody monitoring the cameras.
People are monitoring the cameras. The petitioner, Storage of America, has many units in the Midwest that they had, so they have a central office that monitors all these things. Yes.
And it is gated, you have to have an entry code to get in, so it isn't like anybody can just drive in there and wander around, yeah.
I understand that, but that code could be shared too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it is a preliminary hearing, like we said, and these 18 items, I believe they were checked off with the engineers, and I think we're moving on.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Any other?
Everybody else?
Yep, any other questions?
Any other questions? Any other people care to speak? Oh, state your name.
Karen Patelis. I'm representing Second Hobart Venture, which is a farm behind it. The question I have, is there going to be access from 30, a cutoff from the, like if you're on the south side of 30? Is there an access for people to cut over?
Median crossover, Karen?
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one there, is there, Mark?
Let me check I will check the GIS. I think there might be, but let me double check that.
Yeah, is there any kind of cut over there now, Karen?
You know, I didn't get a chance to drive over there and look at it.
It's been a while.
And I didn't think there was, and if there isn't, are they going to be going to apply for one with the
Yeah, that'd
state?
be up between them and the state of
That's what I
Indiana.
said, are they going to the state?
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah, What are
question.
you talking about, Karen? A cut off from Route 30?
Uh-huh,
From the
Okay.
eastbound.
Median
From the east
crossover.
side, okay.
right, which they've been eliminating all the way down 30
Yeah.
Yep.
throughout Merrillville, so I'm
I understand.
questioning that.
It looks like, looking at the Google Earth, it looks like there is a crossover, existing crossover that's already there. And that gives what?
And Sheila, can I come to
your That gives office a and get a church copy access.
of this plan site?
You sure can.
Thank you.
That is correct. There is, and that's exactly why we put the location of the access at that turnoff. And actually, it looks like it connects up with the church that's across the street.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we will.
Oh. You would see Sheila in the office.
Sheila, go
Yes,
to the
ma'am.
office, and
Yep.
she will give you a copy. And you too, Karen, okay? Okay, is your question answered, Karen? It is. Oh, okay, fine. Okay, there were no other questions or comments. We will continue on.
Oh, motion to approve.
A what?
Motion.
Yeah, a motion to approve this preliminary hearing.
So moved.
A second, please?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by Brian Daring and a second by Chris Mellon. And now we will have a roll call vote. Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Mellon,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit.
Abstain?
I am a yes. Mr. Deering
Yes.
and Madam President.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses, 1 abstain.
Okay, so the preliminary hearing has been approved with the 5 yeses and the 1 abstention. We will continue on with the agenda. We are on item 3, P10PP-4-0923. Tom Fitzpatrick, PE Storage of America petitioner and Don H. Ray owner, located at 1213 West US Highway 30. The request, preliminary planned unit development approval on 4.23 acres in a C3 highway commercial zoning district and planned unit development. The purpose, to allow a storage facility with retail commercial offices facing US Highway 30. Continue, Mark.
Thank you. Mark Anderson, 9211 Broadway, Merrillville. May I approach? I have some supplemental materials I'd like to provide.
Sure.
Based on comments from the workshop earlier.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what, Mark, you should bring that other guy from your firm and have him pass this stuff out for you.
Yeah.
You mean the guy with the nice ties?
Yeah,
The guy with the nice ties and
the old guy, the old guy.
I'm telling you, just go raid your dad's closet and get his good ties.
He probably did.
I think he gave us separate ones like this.
Thank you, Mark.
I provided this.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, do you want to continue?
Yes, thank you. So
Sure.
these updated documents, the plans on the tabloid-sized paper, the only thing that's different from what was provided with our preliminary application was to indicate that the fencing, any fencing would be 8 foot in height. And so you'll see that if you're looking at the with US 30 to your right, you'll see that indication on the south side of the property, a little bit more to the right side. The other was a request for more detailed planning with respect to the office warehouse building. In particular, there was an issue with respect to the roof line. The prior plan that we had submitted at the workshop had an overarching roof line that was completely, looking at it from Route 30, that was completely flat. This has included 2 higher gables in addition to the awnings that were included a little bit lower and shielding people when they come in and out of the office building. So that's what you have here. And again, those were just in response to the conceptual meeting. But I'm happy to talk about this plan again. It's a 1213 West US 30. It is looking to have combined development of office warehouse in the front. There'll also be a kiosk there that is shown in the drawing, songs that we provided to you, and then the self-storage in the rear. This is a very long and narrow property. We're trying to make the best use of this property in this location. Here to take any questions for you.
Well, Sheila, you have a staff report?
Yes. Petitioners requesting preliminary plan unit development approval on 4.23 acres in a plan unit development zoning district and an R2 residential zoning district. Petitioner would like to build a storage facility to be known as Storage of America. The plan has 13 storage buildings that total 50,900 square feet. The storage facility will be fenced. There will be offices that face Broadway with garage areas. The petitioner is aware of the retail design guidelines and the comments regarding the building that faces Broadway in the C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District that was mentioned at the last workshop. Petitioner also is aware of the landscaping ordinance.
Engineers report, please.
Yeah, we took a look at all the information, and for the preliminary PUD, they've met all the requirements as they submitted, so.
Okay, very good. Anybody care to comment? Questions? Please approach the podium.
Luke first.
Pardon?
Bob Wolchinski, I'm representing Master Tile Carpa One. It's the property that runs adjacent to it. I'll start by saying I have no objection to them building the property on here. The concern's going to end up being, the redundant thing you heard tonight was the water runoff. When they built Sedona behind us, there is not a sewer pipe, it's a water drain-off pipe, if you will, that comes directly into our property. And at the time, we were told the same thing. The engineers looked at it, should have no recourse. We flood horribly every time that it rains heavy, and it's all coming from the Sedona water. So now the concern is that now that this property is going to be adding on to it, I'm sure there's something involving retention ponds and whatnot there, but I'm concerned about additional water runoff onto the property to make sure that it doesn't make it worse than the problems we currently already have.
Steve, could you answer that question?
Yeah,
Steve or Bob?
I mean, that'll all be, again, this is preliminary.
Right.
So, as we make our way through the engineering plans with our professional team.
I would imagine that's going to be addressed at
Sure,
some
that'll be
point.
addressed, yeah.
Yeah, the concern is because of the ditch coming along there, I was told back then that it won't be a problem, and it's been a habitual problem ever since. And it was suggested at one point in time, well, you could put a culvert in here for like $500,000 to get the drainage go away. That was not the way it was designed. I mean, I was told it wasn't going to be a problem last time. That's why my concern is this time. I'm not saying that it can't be resolved. It's just a matter of making sure that whatever's being done, it's not, well, essentially what happened, try to make this short, when my father originally purchased that property, the homeowner skimmed the land. So my property is about he took all the nice black dirt away from it and sold it to somebody. So the property on both sides of me is actually about a foot taller than me. So what happened?
You're at a low point.
I'm in a low point.
Oh,
Everything comes draining our way.
Yeah.
So here's an example of whereby all of a sudden we basically, for lack of other words, we pave an entire piece of land that is currently absorbing some of that water. The concern's going to end up being the water runoff. And I'm sure that you have, people that figure out chemistry as far as how much per their area they're doing. But the concern is that, on again, a heavy storm as far as where it's going, because right now I'm already taking on water from Sedona, and I just have to make sure I'm not taking water on from any of the properties. I know it's preliminary. I just want to throw that out there. And again, I am not opposed to this project. I do believe everyone should be able to do with their land what they choose. But I also want to make sure that it doesn't, I already know I have a problem and I can't make it worse.
Well, the board appreciates your concern, and I'm sure the engineers will answer it.
You mentioned earlier to some of the other people, I believe they said, is it Sheila? Is that correct? Would I be able to get copies of this as well, of what the proposed development is? Okay. Okay, just again, if there's anything that I see that would bring to light that I could make suggestions as well. I'm not going to tell people what to do, but.
Very good.
Which side of the property are you on, your building?
Our entire complex is along the east side.
East side, okay.
Of the property.
Okay, I took notes on what you had talked about, so we'll,
Yeah, please come out, you're welcome to. There's what they're calling like a ditch along my property, and it really was never designed to go ahead and handle all the water from Sedona. And so what I think, to my understanding, is every time the pond overflows to a certain point, it goes in this culvert to be a further runoff, and it runs towards my property. So I'm already taking on my water plus Sedona's water, and it's expected to fill into the retention pond. Well, it simply can't handle it. My entire parking lot, particularly on that side of it, it's just underwater. To different levels. When it rains at certain times, it always comes out into the property. If it rains really bad, it can fill up the whole pond. So the concern would just be as far as how are we getting that water that's on that property, to properly drain. Yeah. Essentially it is, and that's over my head.
Okay, we got notes here and stuff, and that'll.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we'll talk, yeah.
Drive by, take a look at it, you'll get an idea for the ditch.
Okay.
The only thing I mentioned, just, and I can show this real quick with respect to the plans, there is the ditch running on the east side of this subject property and then the west side of your property. And that plan is to have that water with gradation shown here in the drainage plan on C300 is what we're looking at. It is going to run to the north to a drainage pond that's going to be holding the water that comes on this property here. So it should make it worse. And I think at a prior meeting, Representative Tom Fitzpatrick from Storage of America, I think he actually indicated that he thinks it's actually would make it a little better for everybody else, is what he thinks based on this.
The proposed detention pond right there is where by far all the worst flooding actually occurs.
Okay, and that's the
for our
low
property.
area then, I think, and where they're.
Just as long as engineering knows that we have a real issue out here, and we're going to address the issue before this thing's approved.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it, because, Joe,
Yeah.
it wasn't addressed when Sedona was built. I was told, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And-
Well, no,
And then
well, no.
afterwards, I think, Brian, you mentioned about recourse. And again, I don't want recourse. I mean, I, again, want them to move forward with everything, but I don't know what kind of recourse I have after my property is flooded, because it's already happened from Sedona. So,
Well, this is only a preliminary hearing.
No, I understand.
Like we all said, and I'm sure your issues will be addressed
okay.
in the right
And then,
manner.
will we be kept informed as far as additional meetings, or is it something that I need to investigate for?
Sheila?
Sheila will.
I'll let you know.
You can, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Make sure you give her your name and address.
It's-
Okay? All right, since it's a public hearing, are there any more comments or questions from the public? Any more comments or questions? Any more comments or questions? None? Okay, I will proceed with the board. What is the board's privilege at this time? Do you want to make a motion?
Motion.
Motion made by Jeff Minchuk on the preliminary hearing for item P10 PP 4-0923. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Chris? No.
No.
I'm
Rich.
trying to-
Mr. Rich.
Mr. Rich, I'm sorry. And the second's been made by Mr. Rich. So we have a motion and a second with the preliminary hearing for item 3. And thank you all for attending.
Vote.
Oh, we gotta have the whole vote? Okay, we need the vote.
Mr. Mellon,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit,
Yes.
I am a yes, Mr. Deering,
Yes.
Madam President.
Yes.
We have 6 yeses.
Okay, we have 6 yeses, and so far, the preliminary hearing has been approved. Item 3. And thank you for attending.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, is there any other business, board members? Staff,
Motion to
engineers? Okay, motion to approve?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, yeah. Jeff made the motion, could I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Meeting's over with. Thank you all for coming.
So these are just preliminary, you want to take those?
Yeah, if I could. that'd be
Yeah,
great.
no, go ahead,
It'll
go
save a
ahead.
trip into-
Yeah, go ahead and take those, and